Welcome to the webinar, Making Thinking Visible. I am Arlene Lowe, one of 4 learning coaches for SunWest School Division. This 45-minute webinar will outline strategies both virtually and face-to-face for different types of learners in your classrooms: auditory learners, textual learners, and learners who are visual learners. Take a minute to think about how you naturally show your thinking. Are you a textual learner, or a visual thinker, or an auditory thinker? If you're a textual thinker, you're a person who'd rather write or type to show your learning. If you're visual, you'd rather draw or represent or create something to show what you know. And finally, you might be a person who'd rather listen to something and talk. To begin, we're going to talk about different types of auditory strategies. The first strategy is called the whip around, and this is a great strategy to use for formative assessment in groups. You're going to start when the teacher asks a question or gives a student a task. For example, what do you need to do to prepare for an emergency? Students then will respond their answers on a sticky note or a piece of paper. When they're finished their responses, they'll simply stand up. So you'll have a visual cue of all of your students standing when they've completed their sticky note task. The third step is the teacher will then randomly ask a student to read what they have on their sticky note, just one response. If any others have that on their response on their sheets, they will check it off. The teacher then will continue to ask questions. As soon as all of the responses have been said on the sticky note, the student then sits down. This continues until all students have been seated. This is a very quick way to work for kinesthetic learners, and it's also a way to quickly show what information and what the students know already. This will help give a quick formative assessment of where more evidence needs to be, or more learning needs to take place. The human bar graph is another example of an auditory and kinesthetic strategy. The first thing a teacher will do is post 3 to 5 responses in the front of the classroom by using a small piece of paper or a poster board. The responses could be highly agree, disagree, neutral, strongly agree, or so on. Then the teacher will pose a question to the students, and the students simply get up from their desks and stand in front of the sign where they feel that they have their opinion. From here, the teacher can encourage the students within their own group to talk about their opinions and why they chose that. The teachers from there can pair up one group with another, such as the neutral people with the strongly disagree, and have them chat about their opinions. Again, this is a quick way to see what students know and a quick way for them to talk about what they know and what they think. Taking sides is another example of an auditory strategy. It's similar to the human bar graph, where you'll need space in your classroom. First of all, create a space and put a long piece of tape on the floor or a long piece of rope or skipping rope. All students stand on the line. The teacher will then read a statement or question, and they decide if they agree, disagree, or if they're neutral. So if they disagree, they simply step to the left. If they agree, they step to the right, and if they're not sure, they can stay on the line. From here, teachers can choose students to justify their opinions and why they agree or disagree with the statement. And students who remained on the line cannot talk at all. And this can continue asking a series of questions. Again, a quick way of formative assessment, allowing them to talk as well as move for kinesthetic learners. Cubit is another auditory strategy. Simply take the template, which is also posted on our 21st Century Competency Wiki, and the link is there for you to click on. And simply make a cube and label your cube. So A is describe, B connect, C apply, D analyze, E create, F for evaluate or argue. So this is also a way to collaborate as well as critically think. And the students simply roll the dice, and they have to respond to the prompt that has landed. So for example, if it's describe my bedroom, then the students simply have to orally share what they know in regards to describing. There are many different ways this cube can be used. It can be applied to math class, it can be applied to science class, And if you would like to check out the wiki, there are different ways that teachers have been using this strategy. Also, if you would like, you could also use the dice feature on your smartboards, and the students simply tap on the dice and have it roll, and then the different numbers coordinate with the different prompts the students are asked to do. Dot-to-dot stories can be applied to lots of different classes, in particular an English language arts class. The teacher begins by putting the students in groups of 4 and putting a different color of sticker on each of the group members, or a different character on each of the group members. The teacher then gives instructions for each color. So for example, all the blue dots have to think of a name of a character, but they can't say it out loud. And the green has to think about a place, and so on, so that each color has a different topic for them to think about. The group members then share their ideas that they had, and they have to create a story. After 5 minutes of creating their story, a spokesperson from their group will share their story. It's very important that you remember your story, and so that it does not change. The teacher then asks all the blue dots, let's say, to stand up and find a new group. And so now you have a new character in your story, and your story must continue with that character who is still in your story. The teacher then asks the students to retell their story. 2 online or digital options for auditory learners are VoiceThread and Educreations. VoiceThread is very simple. It can be used on an iPad or a computer, where the students will download a story that they've written or a picture that they've created, and they simply record their voice, either reading or explaining what they have done. Educreations is similar. It can be used on an iPad or a computer. It is also a free app, as well as VoiceThread. And Educreations, basically you will pull in some work that they've done, or simply use the colored markers to explain their learning, and they can record their voice as they're explaining what they have learned. These features are also easy to share. You can simply copy and paste a link into an email, or there are also share features that can be shared into Dropbox, Evernote, or by email. We'll now move on to textual strategies. These are strategies where students would rather type or write to show what they know. One way to do this are using response cards. 3 different ways that response cards could be used are reprinted cards or write-on cards. So these are cards that already have some type of template or graphic organizer on them, and students simply take them and write with a dry erase marker if they're laminated, or with their pencil or pen. Students can also use whiteboards to show what they know. And if you don't have whiteboards in your classroom, an easy way to do this is to take a piece of white cardstock and put it between a page divider, and simply use a marker, dry erase marker, to write on that. Socrative is also an online app, or as well as on a computer, and this is basically where a teacher will set up a short quiz that can be multiple choice, true or false, or short answer, and students simply type in their responses and hit submit. And once all students have completed the online quiz or responses, then the teacher is sent an Excel spreadsheet, so you have instant formative assessment. Read, write, pair, share is a simple yet effective strategy, and it's similar to the turn and talk or the pair share, only we're reading and writing. It's simply students will read or view some material connected to their lesson. And then students will simply write a response to this information on their whiteboard or on an index card or on a piece of paper. And then students will turn and share this information with their partner. And then students will share their responses with the entire class. So this allows students to think on their own, to write on their own, and feel confident enough to share. Graphic organizers are another excellent strategy for students to write what they know. And many of you I used graphic organizers know that there are different ones that are meant for different types of learning. Here are three fantastic resources of where you can find graphic organizers. One is our Reading Strategies Wiki, which the link is there. It has graphic organizers for connecting, predicting, comparing, inferencing. Editable graphic organizers, if you click on that link, it has a variety of ready-to-go graphic organizers that you simply click on, and then they download into a Word document for you or for your students, and then they can simply type what they know into there. There's also Pinterest, an education board, which is my personal account, and I have a variety of different types of graphic organizers that I have collected as well. A lot of our new resources, the Pearson texts, have a good series and collection of very usable graphic organizers in the back, Venn diagrams, Freyer models, cause and effect, and so on. A creative way for students to begin to share what they know by writing is using a headline content. Basically, the teacher will select a picture or photograph from a magazine, newspaper, etc., and post it on a bulletin board or on your smartboard. And during the week, the students will generate ideas for a headline, and they'll simply write them on a piece of paper and put them in a ballot box. And at the end of the week, the ballot box will be opened, and the teacher will read out all of the suggested headlines, and the students then will evaluate and assess which headline they think is the most creative, or the most concise, or the most intriguing, or whatever it is that the criteria that they have co-constructed together is. And then this headline is posted with the picture. And the winner, who is the person who wrote the headline, then gets to select the picture for the following week. There are also a variety of digital strategies for students to share what they know. Some common online resources that people are using within our school division and in the education world are KidBlog, EduBlog, Today's Meet, SkyDrive and Google Drive, Wordle, and Twitter as well. And you can see our 21st Century Wiki to see how some of these tools are being used in education and in our school division. An example of a visual strategy is creating a parade float. Floats can be used to represent student learning in lots of different areas, such as countries they're studying, heroes they've researched about, maybe careers connected to science, and so on. Students simply find a box, turn it upside down, and cover it in paper and different types of things that represent the topic that they are learning about. And then together, teachers can co-create the criteria with their students to ensure that the students have all of the information that is needed in order for them to show what they know. Lapbooks are another visual representation that students can create in order to show what they know. They're creative and they're visual, as well as they can be applied to many different subject areas and many different grade levels. They're created by simply using different colors that represent topics or different shapes that represent topics, and they simply are types of paper that flip up or flip open or flip out in order to show what they know about a particular topic. Lapbooks can include diagrams, graphs, pictures, questions, answers, levels of thinking. Mind maps, which are similar to concept maps, are also another visual way of students being able to show what they know. Mind maps are different, whereas they have different symbols and pictures to also represent what they're learning about. So they're choosing a creative symbol about their topic. So you basically start with the topic in the center and then branch out of that topic using different key ideas, keywords, definitions, simple sentences, and of course some type of visual representation. Students can draw pictures, add colors, they can use squiggle lines, straight lines, squirrely lines, and can be used in many different areas to study solar system, elements of a story, characters of a story, human body systems, and so on. There are many online programs or apps that can be used on iPads and other handheld devices. Here are 4 examples of ways students can creatively and visually show what they know. One is called Animoto, which is a 30-second video that students can show what they know with some limited editing, photos, music, and so on. Big Huge Labs is an online website only, and it has a variety of different visuals to create trading cards, postcards, wordles, magazine covers, and so on. McGraw-Hill Mathletics is an online resource that allows students to use many different types of mathematical tools in order to show what they know. And Create a Graph is simply a way students can easily create an interactive graph based on data that they have created. Finally, there are an unlimited amount of resources that you can use as a teacher in order to have your students show what they know. It is important for us to remember that we provide a variety of strategies so that our students who are auditory, textual, and visual all have equal opportunities to show what they know.